Welcome back to Proxy, everybody, and today we're going to be doing a bit of a list building session for my upcoming game against Thousand Suns. Now, just full disclosure, I'm not going to be tailoring my list specifically to Thousand Suns. Again, I don't really know what he's going to be bringing, but I have a decent idea, and I'm going to try to kind of build my list more around being able to deal with Thousand Suns as well as some of the other, very top tier factions right now, while still remaining kind of, true to typical competitive list building. However, it would be a lie if I said I'm not going to have my eye on some of the, kind of things that this list can do against Thousand Suns. So we're going to be, talking a little bit about the strategies there, and within a couple of weeks I'm going to have my game, and then we're going to have an after report and see how the list did, and see how I did against Thousand Suns, to be quite honest, because I don't know how I'm going to do against them. It's my first time playing against Thousand Suns in, I would say, a good 2 or 3 years. The last time I had a game against them was in ninth edition, which was a long time ago, and it was a casual pickup game at 1,000 points. So definitely not something that you would think about in competitive play whatsoever. Now, I will say this: I am gonna take a wraith card in this list, and I want to see how a big wraith brick does, not only into Thousand Suns, but in general. I want to try to get it to work, and it's been pretty good for me in the past couple games, but those have been against more vanilla kind of armies, and I want to see how it deals with a more exotic type of list. So we're going to have a unit of wraith guard in the list. So, having said that, let's dive right in. Now, I have read up on the Thousand Suns rules. I've been kind of reading back and forth all their different rules and abilities and stuff like that over really the last week, since I found out I was going to be having a game against Thousand Suns. I really tried to read up on their rules. Also, Thousand Suns are officially the most broken faction in 40k at the moment, because they have not only the highest win rate, but that was after a pretty heavy nerf in Pariah Nexus, and of course they're still winning big. Now, I have to say, I have seen Thousand Suns in action in tournaments and things like that. I've seen battle reports with Thousand Suns. I've seen Thousand Suns piloted by extremely good players, and the general consensus among good Thousand Suns players is they're pretty methodical. They can kind of do whatever you want them to do in any given turn, and there's not a lot that your opponent can do to stop what you are, your game plan essentially. Most Thousand Suns lists that I've seen revolve around being able to bleed out opponents, because again, at the high levels of play, Magnus is going to be a force for sure, but he's not going to just destroy an entire army turn one, because most good players are not going to allow that to happen. So a lot of times what ends up happening is Magnus is kind of a fear factor element, kind of keeps your opponent on the defensive, and then your other units are able to kind of, bleed out your secondary units and just kind of slowly wear you down over the course of the game until you have nothing left, and the Thousand Suns players left standing, laughing at you, maxing primaries, maxing secondaries, because there's nowhere on the board that you can go and still be safe. So we're going to keep that in mind. And also, what we're going to also keep in mind is the ability for Thousand Suns to easily deal with things like the Phoenix Gem and revive abilities, because, we all know that they get the Cabal rituals, which can, kill a model with a Doom Bolt. And then they can also, on top of that, shoot you, and they have a pretty decent assault phase as well. It's not the best assault phase, but it is good enough to kill Eldar. So we do have to watch out for some things in this upcoming game. Now, having said that, I'm excited to kind of work with a list that revolves around Wraithguard, and we're kind of gonna just add in the elements that have worked for me so far, and we're going to, instead of kind of concentrating on maybe list tailoring or choosing units that I know are going to be strong against Thousand Suns, we're going to treat this like anything else. We're going to treat it like we're building a strong list with a strong core, and we're going to devise strategies to deal with Thousand Suns. And we might have a tech piece here or there just in case, the matchup comes up. And theoretically, I'm going to be going through this as if I'm preparing for a tournament. that I know Thousand Sons are going to be at. Okay, so let's start off. And by the way, this is on New Recruit, by far my favorite army building app nowadays. We're going to be starting off with the classic Wayleaper. That's a given, right, guys? We always want to go with the Wayleaper here. Give it the Howling Banshee mask, because that's just good. Now, some people might say put the Manda Blasters on, right? Because it's Thousand Sons. You might not need the fights first, but you definitely are going to need the, you know, devastating wounds here. That'll help. I'm not going to worry about it because I would never choose Manda Blasters over Howling Banshee Mask when preparing for, a tournament or an event, right? So we're going to just go with the Howling Banshee Mask here. We're going to go with the Phoenix Gem. Yes, I realize that your opponent can just Doom Bolt you and then shoot you, but we have Phantasm available just in case. So remember, Doom Bolt needs line of sight, and we can just hop to the other side of the wall if we need to. That's the idea, anyway, to get around the shooting units and stuff like that. If they Doom Bolt us, we can just, we'll just take the L on that one. We'll take the Phoenix Gem, and then we can just pop, on the other side of a wall or something like that with Phantasm. That's the idea anyway. So we're still going to have the Phoenix Gem in there. If we need to cut it later, we will. We're going to have the Starglaive, and we're going to have the Dragon Fusion Gun. That's going to be our Autarch Wayleaper. And that's just the common build. I'm used to it already, so, if something works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, now next up for characters, we have to go with a Farseer and a Farseer Skyrunner. We're basically going to need these two support units for our Wraithguard. Wraithguard with Guide and Fortune are massively insane. And we're going to use this to our advantage. Now, there's one thing that I have a question on, and I'll just kind of say it to the community here. If you know the answer, please put it in the comment section below. I haven't been able to see a clear answer here, but it was brought up in my Discord that Doombolt counts as a psychic attack now. So does that mean that the Wraithguard ability procs off of a Doombolt? Let me know in the comment section below if you guys know the answer to that. I think it does, because for a lot of other things like Feel No Pain and stuff like that, Doombolt counts as a psychic attack. But let me know, because it doesn't specifically say it's an attack for the purposes of things like the Wraithguard ability. So if you guys know the answer to that, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, we're still going to have this because it's great, right? So we're going to make sure we have instead of the Witchblade, we're going to have the Singing Spears on these guys. I just like the Singing Spears. I just think they're better, personally. So we're going to put those on. And the Farseer is going to be able to Fortune. The Farseer Skyrunner is going to be able to Guide. We're also going to have a Spirit Seer because we need that for the Wraithguard brick. And we're not going to give it any of these upgrades. They're useless. And actually, I think that the cheaper, the better on the Wraithguard, because of the fact that if Magnets gets in there, Magnets will probably kill most of them. So they'll be able to shoot back. They'll deal some damage back. They'll make Magnus easier to kill, which is awesome, of course. It's great. But here's the downside. They will die if Magnus decides to go in. So the trade is basically the Wraithguard for Magnus, and I don't want to make the Wraithguard so expensive that it's a bad trade. So we're going to go ahead and just throw the Spirits here in there, and that's it. No upgrades, no Weeping Stone, nothing like that. Okay, for now we're going to kind of just keep it here. I do want to put a Solitaire in the list, so, but we're going to wait on that because I don't know how many points I have left and I have available. So we'll just have to see. I think a Solitaire is pretty good for a Wraith Brick, though. Being able to heroically intervene is really strong, and I think I do want that in the list. But we'll wait and see on that for now. As for our battle line, we do need a unit of Guardian Defenders. And that is just to generate extra Fate dice. We're going to be probably running D-Cannons in this list, so I want to make sure I have tons of Fate dice for Dev Wounds if I need it. Especially on things like Wraithguard, right? Having, basically extra Fate dice really helps out. And since it's on a phase basis, having dice that you can throw at Overwatch, having dice that you can throw for, their shoot back ability, and having dice you can throw in their regular shooting phase is the chef's kiss. You really do need extra fate dice for that. So we are going to have some guardian defenders in there. Okay. I'm kind of considering storm guardians, but we'll wait on those because that's probably just a luxury at this point. As far as the infantry, we want to go big blocker wraith guard here. We're going to give them wraith cannons. Gonna give them a full squad of 10 here. D sites. That would be interesting, but probably not what I want to go for. So we're gonna have the wraith guard. Now we're already up to 865 points. We got most of our army, well, almost half of it already built. Now I do want warp spiders. Now I'm gonna tell you guys why. Most Thousand Suns players will have a ton of flamers, which is true, but there is a way to get around them that I think a lot of players don't realize, and especially with warp spiders having such high movement, you can easily get around this on some maps. So basically, as long as you just measure to one model, you can measure pretty much all 5 warp spiders towards one model and be out of range of the rest of the flamers in the Thousand Suns unit, and they can only fire one flamer with Overwatch. So that's really good. Also, obviously, warp spiders being able to like kind of fly all over the map, do secondaries, Overwatch, stuff like that is really useful. Warp spider Overwatch against Thousand Suns is really good because a lot of the Rubric Marines have invul saves, so dev wounds just, kind of chew right through those. So warp spiders are a good idea for this list. Let's go ahead and throw a unit in there for now, and then we can kind of see how many more we can get away with later. Let's give the power blades and of course the extra death spinner here to the Exarch. Now, just to be real with you guys, I do kind of want to run Shroud Runners and Windriders. I think they're both great units. And I just don't know if I can really justify the Windriders when I have Wraithguard already. But I think I am going to end up putting them in because they have some pretty good Overwatch potential, especially against Rubric Marines, right? Like Wraithguard are good at picking up anything that they Overwatch, but typically speaking, I don't want to just Overwatch anything that comes into range. I want to make sure that I save it for really powerful units, single entities, things like Magnus. And my plan with the Wraithguard is essentially when Magnus comes in, whenever he does, because he's going to have to kind of use Magnus, or he's going to have to pop a bunch of CP, pop a bunch of Cabal rituals to ensure that the Wraithguard die. And either way, he's probably going to need to involve more points than the Wraithguard are actually worth. So, yeah, that's going to be a thinker. We're going to think on that one. Because I'm also thinking that he might just go in, kill them right away, right? Okay, if we're preparing for an event and we know that we're going to run Wraithguard, we also need to realize that in some matchups, the Wraithguard are going to inevitably die. Like, there's going to be nothing that can really save them from their inevitable doom. It's just how much can they take down with them? And do we have a backup plan for that contingency? Like, once we lose the Wraithguard, do we have anything else in the army that can deal a lot of damage to enemy units afterward and sweep the rest of the battlefield clean? And I think in those cases, you're going to want some Windriders. But we'll go back to them for now. Now, the other thing I want in this list is I want things like fire dragons. And I'm actually considering running fire dragons on foot. I know that's wild, guys. But my thoughts behind it are I can afford double the amount of fire dragons, right? Instead of getting a falcon, I can afford double the fire dragons, save myself 50 points. Yes, they're more fragile against indirect fire. Yes, they're less effective against vehicles and monsters. But I already have the Wraithguard, so I got that kind of covered already. And on top of that, the Windriders are going to be, the fire dragons are going to be able to rip apart things like Deathwing Knights, right? They don't need to reroll the wound roll against Deathwing Knights. They already wound on 3s. So yeah, I think I might do that, but realistically, if I'm kind of worrying, I don't really care about Deathwing Knights. Wraithguard can take those out pretty easily, actually, too. Like even if I had to engage them in combat afterward, I think the Wraithguard with Fortune would end up winning, just because they're T7 and 2+ save. Like I just don't see Deathwing Knights being able to kill the Wraithguard after they've shot. So the theory is that, they shoot the Deathwing Knights, and then the Deathwing Knights lose like 2 or 3 models. And then if the Deathwing Knights want to charge in, then they're just going to, I mean, they might kill a couple Wraithguard, and then they're just going to get swamped with attacks. Yeah, I just don't see them winning that. And then, of course, the Wraithguard can just fall back and kill them. So, yeah, I don't think Deathwing Knights are really an issue. Okay, so let's throw in the windriders, because I think we're going to need those. I'm going to throw in the Warlock Skyrunner. That's important to give him the Singing Spear. Again, big Overwatch threat, right? We already have the Farser Skyrunner here, so we might as well put him with a bodyguard. Let's throw in a big unit of windriders. I don't know why. No, I don't want the shuriken catapults. I want the shuriken cannons. Here we go. It's crazy that windriders have 3 attacks apiece. And this isn't a typo, guys. They really do have 3 attacks apiece. Okay, so that's 240. So we got a backup plan now. We got a plan if my opponent goes all in for the Wraithguard, we have a unit that can come in and just clean up. We're going to put a unit of Shroud Runners in here. That's a given, right? If someone like Magnus pops his head out, we have the ability to Shroud and Windrider to death. And actually, I think that will kill him. He does have a 2-up save, but we're going to be ignoring cover, and we're going to be at -1, so he's going to have a 3-up. And we're just going to force so many lethal hits on the guy that he's going to have to fail some hits. He can use a bunch of Cabal points to reroll saves, but that's not going to really save him from too much. I think he can only be targeted once by the Cabalic rituals now because of the nerf, so 1 reroll, he gets to blank 1 damage, which again, against damage 2 weapons, it's not that big of a deal. So I think we got a backup plan in case, Magnus does come out, kills the Wraithguard. We have some backup here. So we have 635 points to work with. I think we need to focus on objective style units now. And we need to focus on things that can, well, essentially make sure that our Wraithguard and things like that are protected, and that our opponent can't just sit back and stage against them. So here's my thinking. We're going to put in, where is it? Yeah, here it is, support weapons. We're going to put in 3 of these bad boys right now. I know what you guys are thinking. Proxy hammer, dude, what are you doing with this? This is too much. 3 D cannons, you got the triple D? How dare you? Now, on one end, I mean, against normal armies, I think this would be really cheese. I think that a lot of, okay, let's say I go up against Dark Angels in a tournament, right? I think this list just destroys, right? I got a core of support weapons. I have the means to screen out my opponent with Guardian Defenders in my own backfield. Deathwing Knights are going to get nowhere close. D cannons are just going to wreck their day. Windriders can do a good amount of damage against them. I know their damage is reduced against, Deathwing Knights, but they're wounding on threes. I got Shroud Runners. If I want to paint a unit, I can do that with lethals. So I'm getting a bunch of wounds against them, and I'm re-rolling all my hits, right? So I think I'm doing really well against those guys. And then I got the D cannons to kill any land raiders that come on up and stuff like that. So I don't have to worry as much about Overwatch and, everybody brings a land raider redeemer and stuff. So I got my Farseer support here. So I got kind of everything I need to make this core of models work for me. But I still don't have a couple things. I still don't have a lot of objective. Like I only have one unit of Warp Spider so far. So let's go ahead and try to do this. Let's try to put in some units that are gonna open up some trading. So in the early game, right, what's gonna bait my opponent? Like obviously I could just go solitaire right now, but I don't know. I'm looking at this list. It's pretty expensive. I don't think I can afford a solitaire. Like to me, it's either the solitaire or the warp spiders. And I think I prefer the warp spiders in general in this particular list that I'm trying to run. So we'll see. Okay. So, what is going to be a couple of units that can get down and dirty, score some objectives, trade with enemy units in the beginning of the game? I think the perfect unit for this has to be striking scorpions, right? Like we take a unit of striking scorpions, we got biting blade there. And that's just gold, right? We have 165 points left. We can't do 2 units of fire dragons. But we might be able to do a swooping hawk. We need one of those. Always good. Now we have 80 points left. What can we do for 80 points? We could run another Shroud Runner, but I don't know about that. We can run a Viper. But again, I'm not sold on the Viper, to be honest. It would be kind of interesting, though, to have a Viper just to, like, buff these support weapons with Ignores Cover. That's interesting. It's also interesting to buff the Wraith card with Ignores Cover. Yeah, they're AP -4, but I would rather not give my opponent a save if I can help it. Right? Like in cover, things like Land Raiders have a 5-up. I'd rather not give them that 5-up if I can. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. If Jane Czar was a little cheaper, I might do Jane Czar. But now I'm like, man, like I have some, it would be really helpful to have a solitaire in this list now that I think about it. The question is, what do we get rid of? What do we get rid of in the list to make sure that happens? Like, do we get rid of one support weapon and just have 2 support weapons and just kind of like cut our losses there? Hmm. Okay, so what I'm now thinking with this list is that we definitely need more units kind of running around, so we definitely need just more stuff. maybe we drop the Phoenix Gem. Let's see what that gives us. That gives us 115. That gives us 115. So we can put a solitaire in there for that cost. All right, now that puts us exactly at 2K, but we did kind of sacrifice objective units for this. So just to give you an idea, we have Shroud Runners that can perform objectives, Warp Spiders, Swooping Hawks, Scorpions. We don't have much else. So this is very much going to be the type of list that controls one side of the board and kind of locks it down, but then can also have the potential to push into the middle and be more offensive. I'm just not sure we have what it takes. Because I mean, on one hand, we do have the support weapons to get rid of, staging units and to destroy whatever appears on the middle objective. But 3 support weapons isn't always going to be enough. Now, windriders as well, using fire and fade and stuff like that is a really good idea. I like that for clearing off anything in the middle objective. I mean, I have to say, in general, I think I like the list. I think if we really wanted to go wider, we could take out a support weapon and we could put in 2 more. Well, we could put a ranger in there and we can put a swooping hawk in there. That could work. Ranger swooping hawk would be nice. It reduces the number of support weapons we have, but at the same time, 2 support weapons with all the extra fate dice that we're getting from the Guardians, and I mean, I don't have Weeping Stone, so that's not going to do anything, but we have 2 Farseers that can change dice to 6s at any time. So maybe 2 is good enough. Maybe 2 is good enough. And we do that. We add the Ranger and the Hawk, second Hawk unit. Because the Hawks are good at a lot of different things. Like, if we are, obviously I'm going to try this list out against Thousand Suns. So speaking from that, if we have 2 units of Hawks, if he brings something like Tanzgors, Zangzors, whatever they're called, the basically, Dollar Tree Bestigor unit, or Dollar Tree Gores from Warhammer Fantasy. If he brings those, or brings Cultists, Swooping Hawks are a good answer to that. Warp Spiders are not, because then they'll just die. We want to make sure the Warp Spiders can trade against something. Or just score objectives and be freaking annoying. So what I'm thinking is, Warp Spiders take out a unit of Rubrics with Flamers, if given the opportunity, or they just take out a unit with Bolters, whatever. Or they take out a Sorcerer, right, like a Exalted Sorcerer. They're basically just there to take something, a key unit out, so my opponent can't just, destroy me with like Doombolt after Doombolt after like turn after turn after turn, right? He's gonna eventually have to reveal some like more expensive units. And so we have this unit of Warp Spiders kind of for that. And I also think we just have to, I mean, we already have a huge unit of Windriders here. We have a Solitaire. So we can protect all of our assets, but we can't protect everything, right? So I think actually 3 support weapons might be a little bit too much, right? Like, okay, for example, if I was running the Avatar of Cain instead of the Wraith Guard, I would absolutely have 3 support weapons. But since we're running the Wraith Guard, we already have a bunch of D weaponry up, the field. I don't think we need it as much. I might bite my words, but I don't think we need it as much. And I think honestly, if the Wraith Guard are able to overwatch somebody like Magnus, and then Magnus is obviously going to shoot them, and then they're going to shoot back at Magnus. I think they're going to do enough damage to Magnus to where 2D cannons are more than enough to take him out. And I think 2D cannons in general is going to be more than enough with the Wraith Guard, with the Bright Lance from the Defenders, because I'm going to be using that. I think that's enough to also take out something like a Land Raider in the middle of the field. Like, even if my opponent pops smoke and stuff like that, I got Bright Lance here, 10 Wraith Guard, and then really, if it's still an issue, I have 3 Shroud Runners and 9 Windriders that can just light it up. And I've done the math on this, and I've rolled this a couple times. Windriders can easily take 10 damage off of a Land Raider with Shroud Runner support and guide. They easily take 10 damage off, because you figure they ignore cover. You know, my opponent's getting a 3+ armor save. Yes, they can throw Armor of Contempt on top of it, but then they're just wasting 2 CP, right? So it's like -1 to hit, but I'm going for 6s lethals anyway, so it's not like that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of negates my opponent's ability to do anything against the Windriders or to prevent like a ton of damage. So yeah, I think we get rid of a support weapon. I think that's the choice. Let me know in the comments if you guys disagree with that choice, but I think it's much easier to protect, right? Like, I already have something with fights first in the backfield. That's my Autarch Wayleaper. The Solitaire is going to be up there. If my opponent wants to like come in with some rubrics to try to kill these support weapons, there's Windriders to stop them. I could just overwatch with Windriders. In a pinch, I could just overwatch with a support weapon if I have line of sight. So I could take out a few and then maybe just survive, because these things are, they're going to have to wound it on 5s. So I don't think Rubric Marines can kill one of these by themselves. I think they need a little bit of help. And again, maybe the Aspiring Sorcerer is able to do it, but worst comes to worst, they kill one of these support weapons. They've kind of spent a good number of resources on that, so I'm not like too mad at that. And I think if anything, like I said, if I can overwatch it, you know, get a hit with my reroll, and then like of course like sub into Fate Dice for another hit, couple kills will make sure that those Thousand Sun Rubric Marines can't actually kill this thing. So I think that is a good idea. Okay, so we have 135 points to spend. I think we just go for objective units, right? Just junk units that I can use to kind of trade, open up, open up a dialogue, between me and my opponent, saying, hey, if you don't deal with this unit, they're going to keep scoring on you. So let's do Rangers. I like Rangers. I think they're good. We have 80 points left after that. The problem is we can't do another Hawk if we do Rangers. But we can do another Shroud Runner, and Shroud Runners are almost as good as Hawks because they take up a good amount of space on the board. They can screen. Um, they can paint something with lethals twice now instead of just once. They have the ability to shoot a bunch of lethal hits. Like, they're not bad, right? They're not bad. So Shroud Runners might be the answer here. Because Hawks are good, but Shroud Runners might be the answer here. Let's see. Shroud Runners. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad list. I really don't. I have 2 infiltrating units. I have a unit that can trade early. If I get first turn, striking scorpions are really good on first turn. They can take out a unit of rubrics like turn 1 if I'm lucky, if I get first turn. But if I don't get first turn, I can at least bait a unit of rubrics out into the open, or bait a sorcerer out, bait something out there so that I can then kill it. Rangers can kind of do the same thing. They can't kill an enemy unit, but I can try to take some pot shots at an enemy character, right, that my opponent has hiding. Or I could just, kind of position up, screen. I don't know. Maybe the Rangers aren't such a good choice, but they're only 55 points and they're an objective unit, so that's kind of what I need to. I do need units for objectives, so that's fine. All right, I'm not mad at this list. Now, the other thing I can do, guys, is I can get rid of the Rangers and I can throw the Phoenix Gem back on, and then I can throw the Weeping Stone on, but I don't know if that's as good. I'm going to be trying this list out a couple times this week. I'll let you guys kind of know. I'll do an update video on how this list does, and we'll see if the Rangers are worth it. I think they're really worth it. Like if I was going to a tournament, I think the Rangers are just the obvious choice over the Phoenix Gem and the Weeping Stones. That Phoenix Gem's really strong, but the thing is that more people are learning how to get around the Phoenix Gem. Especially armies that can do, basically operate in two phases, shooting and assault phase. We have armies like Thousand Sons, Sisters of Battle. We have these factions that can come in, shoot you, and then assault you right immediately after and kill you. So I don't think it's as good. I think the Wayleaper can easily just be used as a lone op, hiding in the back, and then, later in the game when my opponent doesn't have a lot of resources left, he can go character hunting. So he can kill exalted sorcerers by himself. Yes, he definitely can do it, right? 5 attacks, hitting on threes, with a reroll to hit, with a reroll to wound, 2 damage a pop. He can pretty much. I think sorcerers have like, I want to say 5 wounds apiece. So like they're not anywhere close to like being super tough. So if I can, do 3 wounds out of 5, force 3 invul saves, I think I can. I think that's realistic, right? Especially with a fusion gun that I can shoot. I think on average dice, the Wayleaper can kill a sorcerer. But again, I don't know the exact math on it, but I'm pretty sure with a fusion gun. I mean, let's be real. With a fusion gun, it's a 50% chance that I just kill the sorcerer right away. In combat, it's a little bit more tricky, but I think I can deal most of the wounds to it, if not kill it. So I think the advantage lies with me in that one. I got the 2 Farseers. Farseer on foot goes with the Guardians. Farseer Skyrunner can just kind of, go with the Windriders. My opponent does have a stratagem, I think, for like anti-psyker abilities, but to be honest with you, it's just they don't contribute a ton of damage to the situation. I doubt my opponent would want to spend CP on that. So that's fine there. I got the Solitaire for support. I mean, here's the other cool thing, right? Is that if Magnus doesn't have line of sight to the Solitaire, but the Solitaire is within 6 inches of the Wraith Guard, if Magnus charges the Wraith Guard, the Solitaire can go in there gangbuster style, and yeah, he'll be wounding on 5s, but it may be enough. It may be enough damage to actually kill him. When you factor in that the Wraith Guard are going to be overwatching and then, shooting back at Magnus with the Fate Dice generation that I have going on and the Farseer that's going to be nearby, I think it's quite doable, guys. I think if Magnus goes for that, I think it'll be the biggest trap they could ever walk into because he's not coming out alive. And then if Magnus dies like that and doesn't even finish off the Wraith Guard, imagine the Wraith Guard have like 5 models left and Magnus just dies to a Solitaire and Assault. That's game. Like, my opponent's done because then the Solitaire can go wherever it wants, could kill another Rubric unit. There's not much my opponent can do. So I think that's, Magnus is kind of a bully. He kind of operates based on, a threat. Like, always, he has such a high threat level that opponents stay away from him. They plan around him. But if I just say, you know what? If I'm just thinking in my head, I know Magnus is going to drop in on the Wraiths sooner or later because, by the way, guys, if you're not already aware of this, yes, Thousand Sons can deal a lot of mortal wound damage, doom bolts, and all that, but there is a chance they fail the doom bolt, right? You roll a 1 or something like that. Or you just don't roll that well in the mortal wounds. right? So average dice, say you'll probably kill about 3 Wraith Guard with 2 Doom Bolts. And that's a lot, I realize that. But at the same time, if it counts as an attack and I can shoot back at whatever gets me, like for example, I think the play really is if you don't want to get killed immediately after, because the Warp Flamers aren't going to do anything against the Wraith Guard. And the reason they're not going to do anything, guys, is because I'm not going to be on an objective. Like, I'm not going to allow my opponent to have that, right? So, how the Rubric Marine's ability works, it's just like the Windriders ability, except rerolls wounds. So, what I do is I just march up right on top, almost on top of the objective, and then just sit there for a turn. And then he gets no rerolls to wound. So, it's like, you're just wounding on 6s, bro. And you're not going to be able to get through. And then if he chooses to waste the Cabal points on the -2 AP, the -2 armor, so, -3 total, I'm still going to have a 5 up? Like, no way. Like, you're not going to do that. There's no way you spend all those Cabal points on that. Because he's going to have Ahriman, so he's going to get a free, ritual per turn and stuff like that. So I just don't think that's worth the points. But my positioning is also going to have to be good. So I'm going to have to kind of watch for that as well. All right, well that's the list for now. I think this is a pretty solid list. Again, it's just something I came up with. This is very similar to stuff I've been running in the past. The only difference really is that I'm running the support weapons and the windriders and the wraith guard. Whereas in previous lists, I've been running the triple fire dragon or double fire dragon falcon Fuegan combo. I think Fuegan's good, don't get me wrong. I would love to have him in this list. I just don't know what to cut. I don't think he fits as well as I'd want him to in this list. I think if I did cut something, it'd be the Rangers and the Shroudrunner for Fuegan. But he'd be on foot. I like him coming out of a Falcon. I think he's much more effective like that. But my God, I love Fuegan. He's so strong. But we'll just have to see. I think the Shroud Runners are really good. Again, and here's the cool thing, guys, is that I have a lot of precision in this list. Like more than you would think, right? Like I have the Solitaire. I have 2 units of Shroud Runners with rifles. I have Rangers. So like if my opponent reveals a unit, I can snipe out the character right away. Like I can just concentrate my snipes right on the character, blow him out of the water, and then I can reduce my opponent's Cabal points. The other thing that I really need to make sure that I do is kill every single unit that pops its head out. It's like whack-a-mole with Thousand Suns, right? Like I need to be in a position to be able to kill those units. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but we'll see. We'll see. I know that Doom Bolt is basically an auto kill against things like Warp Spiders and Swooping Hawks and stuff like that. So my plan, if my opponent ignores the Wraith Guard, is to just position my Wraith Guard in a way to where my opponent cannot possibly ignore them. Like, I will march into his deployment zone and start just shooting at Magnus. I don't care. Like, I will throw Guide on him, I'll throw Fortune on him, and I'll just throw hands at Magnus and be like, bro, deal with me. Like, if you thought I was just going to sit on an objective all game, you're wrong, dude. I'm going to start, like, firing some Wraith Cannons, man. And like, here's the thing about Wraithguard. They're fairly fast. I mean, they're not super fast, but like if I notice my opponent's not going after them, then I can just phantasm in his movement phase, move up, and then just beeline for his deployment zone, right? Like the move 6. I can't advance and shoot, but I can just move after that, and I can probably be in range of some of his units that are trying to hide behind terrain in the middle of the board. And I think that's basically just what I do, right? I think that's a good idea. Okay, well let me know what you guys think of the list. Let me know what you guys think about the Thousand Suns matchup. They're the best faction in the game right now. the person that I'm playing has been playing them for 3 years, so hasn't he's not like a super veteran or anything, but he's been playing them a lot in 10th, and I was told he has a fair grip on how the army works and stuff like that. So we'll see. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. If you do want to support the channel, by the way, we're almost to 5K subscribers. I hope we can get there before the mid of October. I think like October 21st or something like that is my 2-year anniversary on YouTube. So, definitely if you haven't subscribed and you like Eldar and you like the content, subscribe. There's no reason not to. I know that's kind of cringy to say, but I mean, hey, like I'm subscribed to a bunch of people, it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative social thing. It's not like, what's that social media platform? It's not like Instagram where if you like follow more people than you have followers, it's like some sort of disgrace or something like that. Like it's not. Um, content creators, most of us create stuff for you guys just because we love the community. I love the community that I'm a part of. I mean, if I don't reach 5K subscribers, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I just think it'd be cool. So, anyway, sub if you want. And if you do sub, you might want to consider joining the Patreon because I have free trials activated. And if you guys don't know this, I basically give a Discord link to everybody who does a free trial. So it's free Discord. Get in our Discord, start talking Eldar strategies with us in the Discord. I'm pretty active on there. I try to go on there at least once or twice a day, talk to you guys, engage with you guys. I love the community. We have a solid group of players in the Discord that is just like, this is why I play Eldar, because we have such a solid core of people that play, and it's just really cool. Like, you'll probably, I don't want to say never, but you'll probably never meet a group of Eldar players as cool as the people in our Discord. So, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Sign up for a free trial. You can cancel. You don't have to pay me a dime, obviously, and just get in the Discord. That would be just enough for me. And yeah, join us. Also, if you do want to support the channel, but want to maybe pick up some discounted Eldar miniatures, you can check out my Amazon affiliate links. I'm an Amazon affiliate. I kind of have some recommendations on Amazon as to, what players should buy and stuff like that. Consider, supporting through that if you want. And also, lastly, if you want to rep some Eldar inspired apparel, I have some pretty cool shirts on the channel store page. So check out those as well. I have aspect runes, I have craft world runes, I have a bunch of different stuff. I have some meme stuff. It's kind of funny. So, yeah, check it out if you want. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one, everybody. I have more content to come. Oh, yes. One more update before I go because I almost forgot. I'm going to try my best to get a Yinkarn video out within the next couple days. And I'm also going to have a Wraithblade video out. And I'm hoping I can get both of those done by the end of the week. Basically, I already told you guys this, but Adobe Express destroyed my Wraithblade video, which was great, by the way. It always sucks losing a video like that because I think I was pretty much on a roll. I think it was one of my better videos, but I'm going to try to redo it as best I can. I think the ideas are obviously still there. It's just a little bit depressing that it got destroyed. So I'm going to have that out soon and also have the Incarn video out. And then, yeah, if you guys have any other video ideas, let me know. I have a ton of, kind of in the storeroom, but I always love to hear your ideas. And, sometimes I just like to, get feedback from the community and see what you guys want to see. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. Peace out. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, everybody. See you later.